let's let's do it. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Adam Franchella, and I am Auggie's Chief Product Officer. The platform or the community-powered platform for parents to learn from experts and from each other. And we are very excited to have you all here today, and incredibly excited to have three wonderful panelists joining us to talk about a big one, the mental load. From managing the invisible stuff to handling it all by ourselves, oftentimes it can feel very heavy. And we're thrilled to be joined by these three who can bring insight, empathy, and some real solutions. So I'm joined by Emily King, a co-founder and CEO of Faye, a platform redefining modern family support. Lauren Ezzell, head of family experience at Maple, where they help families thrive with proactive personalized care. And Jill Carr, co-founder and CEO of Labor the App, an inclusive platform designed to help couples share the effort and excitement of having a baby. So ladies, I'll just kind of hand it over to you to maybe do a more of a robust introduction of all three of you, and then we'll start with some conversation topics.
Who would like to go first?
Lauren, why don't you start, and then I'll go, and Jill.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Lauren. I'm the head of family experience over at Maple. We're an all-in-one family operating system. So we're an app that the whole family is on, and you coordinate calendars, to-do lists, shopping, meal planning, family email and routines all in one place. We're designed to really help parents come closer together and work more like a team. And the app was built to help reduce some of the invisible labor that weighs so heavily on parents, specifically mom. And my job is basically to work with families and ensure that they're set up for success, to understand their challenges. I talk to thousands and thousands of families every year. And so I really understand sort of what they're going through. And I'm also a mom myself of two boys. So Emily?
Yeah, I'm Emily King. I started Faye, which stands for, to give context of the name, stands for Family Advisor. And essentially we built a platform that connects busy families with local family advisors, we call them, who can help you cross things off your list, can execute for you. And so I think as we thought about the solution space out there, and as being a busy executive myself, like with the mental load and my constant to-do list, there are certain things that I can, with better systems, my husband and I can manage better. But in reality, there are also things we just don't have time to do or we don't want to do. And that's where Faye comes in. You can work with someone who can take those items off your plate and get them done from A to Z. I am a mom as well. I have one child, one little girl that's turning 7 in a few weeks. And so my mental load, which I have been able to get most of it down on paper and delegated a lot of it to my family advisor, is all about figuring out what we're doing for her birthday in a week.
What are you doing?
What are we doing? We're having she's an only child, so we're doing too much is the short answer. And I've done none of it.
Great. Even better.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Jill Carr. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Labor the App. Labor is an app for parents or people who want to become parents. So for couples who, from trying to conceive through pregnancy and then the first 12 weeks of postpartum. So Labor was really built because and for the mental load for couples to, as we like to say, share the effort and excitement of having a baby with shared resources, information, and tailored content that brings both partners' experiences front of mind. So super excited to be here. This topic is really near and dear to our hearts. On the personal side, I also work full-time in brand marketing for Harmless Harvest, the coconut water company.
Nice.
And I live in Oakland, California with my husband, our 2.5-year-old son, and a 5-year-old chocolate lab. Lab people
Awesome.
gotta specify the color.
Of course. And before we dive in, I'll say too, I am also a first-time father of my son, Bo, who was born 6 months ago. So I am freshly in this as well. So we're all coming at different stages of parenthood for sure, but excited to dive in with you ladies. So, well, I'm just going to start with the basics. What are we really talking about when we say mental load? How do you guys define it, and what makes it such a unique challenge for parents at each stage? And again, I'm not going to call on anyone, but feel free, guys, to jump in and bounce off of one another.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start and I'll just give you my personal definition of mental load. So take it for what it is. But for me, the mental load is everything that I'm carrying in an unstructured way in my mind that I haven't actually like put down on paper and or delegated or assigned to anyone. And I think that what becomes so hard at our stage or at my stage specifically is that my mind is swirling with these things all day at work, like with work tasks. And then once you have a child, your personal life just becomes more complicated. So you have that on top of it. And then I'm finding myself as, a 42-year-old mom with aging parents, that I'm now managing what's going on in their life as well. And so it used to be, just work and I could just I could manage that. But now it's like work plus child plus parents. And that's a lot. And even as someone who, started a company to help with this, I think one of the biggest challenges with the mental load and where we feel overwhelmed is just feeling like we have the tools and resources and space and even awareness that we're in that stage at a given time to solve it. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how I would define it for me. Lauren and Jill, I don't know if you have additional context to add there.
Yeah, I think, we're a family app. So we're trying to help you sort of operate inside the household. For us, the mental load is really, yeah, just as you described it, Emily, the invisible ongoing work of anticipating, planning, remembering, managing everything that keeps your family functioning. And it's not just tasks. So it's not just the physical tasks like, oh, I got to cook dinner, right? It's the actual labor of having to anticipate that task, figure out what you need for that task, then executing against that in time to get the task fully completed. So it can be a lot. And I think this is especially challenging today because most parents work. It's like 73% of moms work full time now. And if you look at the younger generations, you look at um, Gen Z parents, I think that spikes up to like 80 something percent are working. So not only are you dealing with all the different things that are going on in your workplace and thinking about that, but then you got to come home and you got to think about what the family needs. And so many of us now, sort of to Emily's point as well, you don't have a village like you used to have. So it's really on you. And that's really, really tough.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with the anticipation. It's the anticipating, it's figuring out what you need to make the day-to-day life run. It's yeah, so couldn't agree more.
Yeah. I think too, I really struggle because, in my household, I'm the default parent. And so that sits squarely on my shoulders sometimes to make sure and ensure our household is running. And I explained it to my husband this way. He's not here, so he travels for work every week. And so I would love for him to be able to be the person that is managing all this stuff, but he's not physically here. So it makes it really hard for him to really be involved. But I explained it to him because he didn't really understand what I meant by the mental load when I told him I'm feeling totally burned out. And he said, well, I think about stuff like, I think about the kid's birthday. I'm like, no, it's when the kids say, I find it like proactive and reactive thinking. So my husband's very reactive. So I told him, the kids tell you they're hungry, you open the fridge and you see all this food and you're able to make them something to eat. But that only happens because of the work that I'm doing to ensure that there is stuff for you to eat. And if I stop doing the mental load, you would open that fridge and there'd be no food in there, and that's the part of this that's really hard to do on your own. It's exhausting. It's like magic, right? When it's working well, no one sees it happening.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it actually perfectly dovetailed into the next topic that I was hoping to bring up, which is somewhat inevitable, which is imbalance, right? It's even with the best intentions, imbalance between partners, I think often creeps in. I can certainly say in my life that is the case. As much of a very present father as I am, I know that my wife is doing more and thinking about more, and there's definitely an imbalance there. So, what are some practical ways to address imbalance with your partner? I mean, I know at least anecdotally, it's just so hard not to keep score, right? And just, on days that maybe the one day that I do more, I can't help but mention it. And that's not the right
Yeah.
thing, I'm sure. But, how can we address imbalance between partners?
Yeah, I mean, I can start. I think one, it's great to just be aware that it might be happening and have a clear communication channel.
Yeah.
So you're both on the same page. Um, for us, like, with Faye, we recommend that if you do have a family advisor, like schedule a meeting every 2 weeks, and it forces you to all get together at one time and jot down all the things that are on your mind, look at your calendar, what's coming up. And so you can get ahead of it. You're like anticipating together so that you don't find yourself on a Friday morning realizing there's a birthday party at 3 p.m. after school and there's no gift, right? That, a lot of this is just getting ahead of it and creating the space to, plan, just like we would at work, right? Like we're very good at dealing with this functionally in our workplace, right? We look what's coming up on the calendar, like we have planning meetings, we have strategy sessions, and how do you take some of that and be honest with yourself and admit that you need to do it in your personal life?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go, Jill.
I would say that in our household, one, we got the fair play cards, like deck of cards, and lined up the roles and responsibilities, and that helped. And it, you know, in times when I felt like I was doing more, I could also see the cards that my husband has that I know nothing about. I know nothing about our car. I don't think about our car. It is not something I ever take care of. And so realizing that there are a bunch of things that he does that I don't see because I don't want to. And so that helped equalize a lot. And then part of it was also not negotiating the day-to-day tasks that we do. Like if I exercise on Tuesday, Thursdays before work, my husband gets our son up and then I get home and I'll take the dog for a walk. Like we know that schedule a little bit more than trying to negotiate who's going to take the dog for a walk, who's going, to make our son's lunch, who's getting him ready like for the day. And so that I think has also helped a lot just to put some systems in place so we're not constantly having the same negotiations. Like I think Eve Rodsky was like, you wouldn't do this at the office. You wouldn't constantly go to your boss and be like, what should I do today? And so putting
Or
those
like, are you
systems,
doing this or am I
right,
doing this? Yeah,
exactly.
and
It's like
it is funny
that
because when
division. Yeah. It makes
when
it so
one
much
of
clearer.
you, I don't know if you notice this, but like for us, we frequently find ourselves in that space where we're both kind of sharing in the tasks to get her off to school. And we'll notice if one of us is out of town, it's so much easier because it's just like, who has ownership because you're the only person who can do
Yeah.
it.
I get that. I totally get that. I agree. I think this is what we say at Maple. One, you need to actually outline everything that's happening. So Eve Rodsky is really great in terms of the cards because it covers literally every single thing from who's unloading the dishwasher to who's writing the thank you cards. So I think map that out and sit down together. And the way that you find balance is to bring attention to it. So you're like, hey, I've written my name in. I've done all these tasks. I'm doing all these tasks. It's 80% of the work. I feel burned out. What can you take off my plate? And that's going to be different for every household. I would love to split the deck evenly with my husband, but he's literally not physically here, so he can't do it. So he tends to take on the tasks that are digital. And that way he's able to do it while he's on the go, and I do the ones that are sort of in real life at the house. And then you need some sort of system for tracking the tasks. So you could use a tech tool like Maple, or you could literally use a paper calendar, or you could put a to-do list on the fridge with a magnet, whatever system works for you, and make sure you're both sticking to it, because the system's going to fall apart unless you're both bought in. So that's really important. So it's really about having intentional conversation and agreement amongst everybody who is in the household about being on the system. This could be just you and your partner if you have little kids, or it could be literally you and your kids if they're big. And we love doing that in a family meeting. And then we do check-ins every Sunday. So for 15 minutes, everybody gets their favorite drink. We let our kids do hot chocolate. My husband and I have a little wine. We sit down before bedtime and we talk about what's coming up that week. Everybody's on the same page. So that's what we do in our household. It's tough, and it only gets crazier. Like, I hate to tell you, my kids are, turning 8 and 10. And it's only gotten crazier as the kids got bigger, as they get bigger, because they have schedules, real schedules, where my eldest son now has like state testing, and he's prepping for that and he's anxious about that. So you're also managing like the feelings. So there's just a lot going on. So the sooner that you can figure out what systems work for you and your household, I think the better.
And the
And one,
overarching thing that I'm hearing across the board is that whatever system you're using, it's to actually put it out in the open, talk about it frequently, actually document it in whatever way you're comfortable with. Because, at least anecdotally, in my experience, the more time that we go without talking about the division of things, even if we did it a couple weeks ago, things have changed, right? Like, especially in the stage where I am right now with the 6-month-old, every week is a little bit different in terms of what tasks there that even exist for us, and someone's just kind of organically picking them up based on who comes, and oftentimes that's my wife, if I'm being honest. So, talking about the things more regularly, documenting them, actually just putting process around it. It sounds silly because it's not work, but it just feels so helpful. So I think that's what I'm hearing.
I think it is work, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Running a household is like running a business. I mean, truly.
sure, it takes time and energy.
Yeah.
And
And
planning.
that's
Yeah.
right. And if, like, let's say you let the tasks go and you don't do it. So the kitchen is piled up with dishes and none of the laundry has gotten done. How do you live day to day? You can't. And so, like, it is work. You have to do it. So being really intentional about who's doing what, roles and responsibilities, what teamwork looks like, where does it live? Like, that's going to make your life so much easier, honestly.
I think one piece here too that is worth discussing, or I just find it to be kind of fascinating, is that my husband and I kind of perceive tasks in different ways. Not necessarily, there is like the time that a particular task takes, but there's also the energy that it extracts from you. And what's nice is to kind of look at everything that needs to be done and be honest about, like, who likes doing it more? Who is less affected by this task emotionally, right? Because part of that is helpful. And it's little things, like for me, and this sounds ridiculous, but it like actually made a big change, is that I hate spending money. I just don't like doing it. And so what I was finding is that every time, like like if we went out to eat or we were doing any sort of transaction, when I was like putting the credit card down and having to sign my name, like for whatever reason, that was just like causing anguish. And like,
Yeah.
my husband doesn't care, right? Like that's like easy for him. He doesn't care. And so it's like, great. Like just from now on, when we're eating out at a restaurant, like he deals with a check. And there's certain things for me, like doing laundry, folding clothes, like I oddly like it. So like I'll do that. So I think it is kind of the other piece of this is it's not just like, let's take all the things and the time and divide them. I think it's nice to be honest with yourselves about like what actually is fun to do and what causes anguish, and trade.
It's a really
Yeah,
good
love
point.
that. It just comes down to intention. It feels like, right? Just make sure you're talking about it. Make sure you're being intentional about what the plan is. And so, going on to kind of the next topic I have here is, how do we share the labor from the very beginning, right? Like even pre-parenthood, is there a plan that you can put into place to make sure that you're set up for success? And I guess I will I'll start with you, Jill, perhaps, because I know Labor the app definitely deals with some of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's why we built labor is because we realized that there is a lot of inequity that starts, and the mental load of motherhood doesn't start when you have a baby. It starts when you decide to have a baby. And this was, I mean, it was really born of my own experience, which was annoyance at my husband, who, was a 50-50 partner in my household. And then we decided to try to expand our family. And all of a sudden, I was tracking my cycle and downloading apps, talking to friends, doctors. My entire algorithm changed. I was taking prenatals, buying ovulation kits, and he just like got to show up for the fun part. And then it took a while. And so like it also wasn't so fun then at the end of it. Um, and then I was fortunate enough to get pregnant and realized that, like, two things. One, that again, this mental load burden starts way earlier than once the baby is born. Like, your mind is worrying from the appointments and what you've got going on. And the second was there wasn't really a way for him to be involved. There wasn't really a seamless way for him to have access to information that I did. And so I did what probably most of us do, which is like complain to your friends. And to my very good friend and now co-founder Ashley's credit, she was like, okay, I do think we should build this. Like, this is a good idea. I think there is a lot of value here. And so that's what we've been doing over the last couple of years, nights, weekends, early mornings, is building this app for couples that includes both partners in the process. So there's shared calendars so you can see when the ovulation window is. So it's not up to one person to manage that. But you also can see when you're supposed to take a pregnancy test or when the expected period is. So you both can manage the emotions that come when trying to conceive and getting your period, or, having a positive or a negative pregnancy test. Like, so many of us just like what you get surprised when you're told that, like, when you see that you're pregnant and you tell your partner that you're pregnant, like they had no idea this was coming. And so trying to equalize that a little bit more from the beginning. And then they have the resources, they have the information to see that, your baby is this, what size fruit the baby is this week and what's developing, but also in postpartum, like the information that, sometimes my husband would be like, well, how many dirty diapers should our son have today? I was like, why would I know that? Like, we have been parents for the same amount of time. And so equalizing this access to information for both partners, I think from the beginning, is really what we have set out to do and to build from the onset of labor.
I think that's such a good point, Jill, about even before the baby is here, how so much of it it lays on mom.
Mhm.
I will say for anybody who is trying to conceive, my eldest is almost 10. And back then I went to every single prenatal appointment. Obviously, I'm the star of the show, but my husband would be like, I have a work meeting.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because I didn't think twice about it until like my second. And then I thought, well, hold on. Like, why am I the only one going to this? My best friend lives in Sweden and she had a baby there. And we were chatting while she was visiting. And she said, in Sweden, it is culturally expected that both mom and dad, both partners, show up for the prenatal appointments, every single one. And the shared responsibility of the family starts at the very beginning. And I actually think that that is such a beautiful, wonderful way to approach sort of the shared responsibility of family life from the very beginning, which is dad should be at every appointment, just like mom. You should be doing it together. Uh,
Yeah.
both parties should be there. I don't know. I think even before baby comes, my husband and I never talked about what it was going to look like in terms of division of labor. And we had to go through the very painful process of like me breaking down, us having to work through it, figure out what was going on, why I was like so ragey all the time. I was so angry and resentful. And he'd leave a cup out and I would blow up. And he's like, what's your problem? I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's not about the cup. So I very much encourage you to talk to your partner even before baby comes, before you maybe even are trying to conceive, and figure out like what that looks like for both of you. Get buy-in like have an agreement. It's never too late. We did it much, much later, but there's more information now. Like we didn't have the labor app when I was pregnant the first time.
Same. That's why I built it.
I know. What do you think, Emily?
I was remembering my own journey.
Yes, you're like, oh my God.
I know it was a long time ago. I purposefully forgot much of that. Um, yeah, I was just thinking what's hard about that pre-partum time as well, pregnancy, I guess that's just what you call it. Is that for me, it also took me a long time to get pregnant, and I was just highly anxious through the whole thing. So it wasn't only that I was going to those appointments by myself, but I was also carrying this like constant anxiety that something was going to happen to the baby, or I wasn't eating the right thing, or like I was too stressed at work, but at the same time, I was trying to work as hard as possible because I was going to take time off from work. And so there is the actual time of appointments and whatnot, but then there was just like the mental load of like dealing with my own anxiety
Yeah.
and neuroses, which were absolutely elevated during that time.
Totally.
Yeah, I think one of the things that also frustrated my co-founder and I is when our partners would just say, well, make me a list and I'll do it. And we were like,
Not that. That's the worst.
no, right. I'm like, the work is the making of the list.
Talk about proactive versus reactive.
Yeah, right.
And so one of the things that we built into the app is a checklist. So in conception and then in each trimester, there's a checklist that both partners see. You see what's going on. It's kind of that brain dump of, did I schedule my 16-week ultrasound? Like all of these things that even if one person is doing it, there is visibility into all of the work that it is. And I think it's a really helpful, like empathy building exercise to say, like, this is what the person giving birth is managing all the time on their own. They've got a full life, probably a job, and then all of these things in the background. And so it's like at the end of the day, the, you know, the person giving birth is the one counting the kicks, but it's helpful for your partner to know that you should be counting kicks. And if, the kicks aren't happening that night, someone to like freak out with you with. And so I think that like empathy building across the board is really what we've tried to do from the onset.
And I'll take the conversation next to something that you guys have already started to address throughout these questions, which is what also feels inevitable is that sometimes the load just gets too heavy, and burnout sneaks in, right? And obviously knowing that's okay and that's completely normal, but for you guys and in your experience, what's helped you and your families when you've really just felt completely maxed out?
Yeah, I'll take it because it's like a good reason I started Faye. I think and again, it also ties into my I don't love spending money on things, but sometimes you just have to like realize that you cannot do it all by yourself. And it's okay to like dole out a little cash to relieve your stress, I think we've grown up in a society that places expectations on us as the mom to do it all and do it all with a smile. And I find it fascinating that, even sometimes if you have like a house cleaner or friends that would hire a night nurse, speaking of, postpartum, there'd almost be like, like, oh, well, you're fancy, you get a night nurse, but nobody questions if you're carrying a nice purse or you're driving around a nice car. Like somehow we are critical of others paying money to get support or outsourcing labor, yet there's far less attention and judgment on when other people are buying things. And I just find that to be fascinating and certainly hope that changes.
I couldn't agree more with the outsourcing. Like if you have the, fortunate ability to outsource where you can, I think it's really helpful, like childcare, a dog walker, like house cleaners. It's just, I think, takes so much of that mental stress and the like emotional stress of that, of burnout. I think burnout also for me happens when I feel like a loss of control of work is spinning out or personal life is spinning out. And then I just, I'm still really trying to work on separating my perceived productivity from my self-worth. And I think that will probably be a lifelong thing. But, then you just sit at your computer for hours and you get nothing done and your house is a mess. And so again, when I start to like burn out is when I realizing I'm just like sitting and staring at a screen and nothing is happening and my house is a mess and I haven't exercised. And so really trying to take a step back, realize that, 2 more hours at a computer is not going to be the best use of my time. What can I do in, 10-minute increments to put some clothes away, to put some dishes away, to feel better in my space, to go for a walk, to talk with friends, schedule some socialization. And I think that really helps like bring me back to myself. And so again, I'm grateful to have a partner who is really receptive to all those things and the feedback of like, okay, this is crazy. You've got to go and handle these things. And so, but also being willing to throw money at the problem if you can afford to.
Yeah. I will say too, I had two thoughts. The first I'll address, which is like the money thing. We just put out a big survey for our Maple families, and it came back. We asked about spending, and right now, I think it was over 60% of the families who responded saying that they've cut back and they're feeling anxious about their family budget right now. So if you're feeling like you don't have a lot of money to spend, but you do feel like you are starting to get the symptoms of burning out, tap your community. Like ask your mom friends, hey, can we do a carpool or can we have like, I don't know, uh Red Robin meal delivery drop off where we do it for each other and we just do macaroni and cheese or spaghetti and meatballs, something inexpensive, but we just do something for each other for dinner so we don't have to think about it. Or if anybody can take the kids for 2 hours so I can just have a little quiet time, tap your community. We don't have grandparents that live around us. And so I don't have the opportunity of being able to drop the kids off with their grandparents, but I have built a community of friends, like really, really close friends. And we just all pitch in and try to help each other. So don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's really important. Or even just a neighbor, if you have a neighbor that has dogs, like, hey, could you walk my dog if you're like once a week and I'll return the favor at some point. The other thing that I was thinking while you guys were talking was how to make sure that you know how to spot when burnout is happening to you, because I didn't know that I was burning out. I didn't know that's what it was. All I know is that I got really ragey, and I keep saying that, but mom rage is so real. But I was snapping at everybody all the time for things that I probably shouldn't have been so angry about. So if it feels like your mind is a browser and you have hundreds of tabs open, that could be your tripwire that maybe you're taking on too much. Um, if you can't get a sentence out without being like, oh, I forgot this thing, or oh, I forgot that thing. And it's just constant interruption in your brain. That might be another tripwire for you. If you feel exhausted before you even started doing the actual task, that might be another indicator that you might be a little bit burned out. And also pay attention to how burnout comes up in your body. For me, I get a lot of stress in my back and my neck when I'm taking on too much. So, it's just try to be aware. I'm sure there's more information online about how burnout sort of shows up in daily life, but look at that and ask yourself, are any of these things happening to me?
I think too, like part of burnout for me is when I just feel like everything that's in front of me is hard and overwhelming,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
don't have something like immediate to look forward to. So, you know, in my wise old age, like I do think I've become better at making sure, once a week we have something fun on the calendar. We have
Yeah.
like a trip coming up in a few weeks. I have finally learned at 42 that if Emily does not work out 2 or 3 times a week, I'm a mess. And it took me a long time to figure that out, but I like cherish that. And I
Yeah.
put it on the calendar and I do it and I go on a run. And I'm not like an extreme athlete by any means, but just like moving my body hard a few times a week, like is essential. And I've finally convinced myself of that. So figure out what those things are non-negotiables for you. Make sure you have time for it, and um, that certainly helps.
That so resonated with me, Emily, about like the working out thing. I I honestly think that so much of the mental load is that you are caring about everybody else. And so what ends up happening is you stop caring for yourself. And I don't mean like spa days and mani-pedis. I mean, are you eating right? Are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking enough water? Have you moved your body? Like,
Yeah,
you're
totally.
saying no, 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 no. That is also an indicator that you have taken on way too much and you need to sort of find some balance or some support.
Love it. Yeah, so helpful. I still sometimes I'm just in my mind listening to you guys. I'm coming back to intention, and the more that I feel like when I'm burnt out, and sometimes this is at work, sometimes it's with family stuff. Just the process of like writing down what I need to do is what helps me, right? Or just like getting it somewhere on paper, or I'm in the family. Perhaps sometimes that's me going to my wife and saying, "We have to do this. We have to do this. We have to do this," and just like speaking it out loud. I feel like is really helpful, right? And whether that's in an app or whether that's on, physically pen and paper or a verbal conversation, I feel like stuff like that, at least anecdotally, again, can be so impactful. Well, Lauren, I want to go to a question that you brought to the chat today from a Maple family member, because I think the timing is right. Now maybe we can pivot to talking a little bit about some more solutions, right? So, what rituals have the most lasting impact on the health of a family system? Not just the ones that feel good or sound good, but the ones that quietly build stability, connection, and trust over time. So, Lauren, we'll start with you, and then we'll go around the room.
That was from a Maple dad, Carson, and he couldn't be here today. And he sent that to us we have a private Slack community with our Maple families, and he sent that this morning. So I just wanted to make sure that we answered it. Um, it's such a good question. I think for me, I've been thinking about this all morning. There's a couple of things. One, we do mealtime together at least 3 times a week as a family. And I mean, no phones at the table. We're sitting down. The kids spend time making the table nice. They help me with the dinner or they help my husband with the dinner if he's here. And we eat as a family. And we look at each other in the eyes and we ask some really important questions. We do, highs and lows. So, what was your high point today? What was your low point today? We talk about gratitude, the things that we're thankful for. And I think that that is such a great way to connect, that I've noticed that's sort of fallen by the wayside a bit. And some of my friends, I talk to them, they're like, oh, we never eat as a family. And I think, oh, that just hurts my heart. You should make an effort to do it. It's really the most wonderful part of the day for us because my kids actually start opening up, engaging in conversation. So, and we've been doing that since they were teeny tiny. So that's one big sort of ritual that I recommend you do with your family. Another one is those family meetings every Sunday. It's just an easy 15 minutes to put on the calendar that you also sort of get together and you talk about what's happening in your life. My kids now look forward to them. And if we're like a minute late, my eldest is like, what about the family meeting? I'm like, okay, we'll go do it.
Older
Okay.
child.
Older child, first child. Yeah, exactly. I know. It keeps us all in shape. I love it. So that's what we do. I don't know what Jill or Emily, you guys do that you think are important family rituals, but that's for our house.
I have a lot, but one that I think is both useful and fun is on a weekend day, like Saturday or Sunday. We'll set a timer for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and everyone just has to like hurriedly like go clean things, put things away, like just it's like a it's a cleaning party. And then we'll go do something fun together after outside of the house where we're not distracted. I think one challenge we've been having lately is just given that we both are working here and it's like now summer and things are less unstructured, I'm finding that we haven't been good about just having focused family time. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to just like get out of the house so none of us are distracted. We're in a certain new place discovering together. And for us, that's very important for our relationship as a trio.
I love that. These are some very good tips that I need to employ, especially the family meal time, because I think with a toddler, it's just like whatever you eat, I'm willing to serve you. So, but I think honestly, I have less on the like with my child, but more in my partnership is shared notes on our phones have been instrumental for just some of the day-to-day management. Like Adam, as you mentioned earlier, you're like just saying it all out loud. We have a shared note that it's just like our life admin, and anything that's in either one of our brains, like we need an estate plan or we need this or we need that, like that goes on there. And then it feels nice to check off, like we booked the flights for that wedding, like anything and everything. And it's just a hodgepodge that just comes out of our brains. And then similarly, a shared note for the grocery list has just really, really helped. Like instead of looking through texts of like, what did we say we needed? What? And both of us do the grocery shopping more often, my husband than I. And then we have a place like we're out of string cheese this morning, and I just added it to the list. And he's probably going to stop at Trader Joe's on his way home, and string cheese will be in his cart. And so it just alleviates the forgetfulness that we had, and also that, you know, swirling in your own brain if you can get it out and it's more shared so people, so you know, and you can start working on these things and chipping away at them.
I love that. Jill, I got to get you a maple. Like,
It's more organized than our
exactly
chaotic
what
shared
we need,
note.
but it's not. No, yeah, no, I love that. I think shared tools is such a great way to strengthen your relationship, honestly. And again, not trying to sell you anything. 80% of Maple's users are free, but I don't care if it's in an app. I don't care if it's on paper. I don't care if it's stuck to the fridge, but having one place you guys are putting your information that everybody can see, so important, especially as the kids get big, so important.
Yeah, my wife and I do that with our finances as well. That's where one of our main rituals comes in is every quarter we have a meeting on the calendar that, our shared family calendar. It's the first of every 3 months. And the fact that we both know that's always coming, it's like a little bit of just like a mental load is taken off. It's like, all right, that's coming. I know we're going to address the fact that maybe our budget was a little wonky this past month and we spent too much. And I know we're going to address different aspects of our finances. So that's just a little bit of a stress reliever that's coming. And it's been a ritual that's really worked well for us, is like both knowing that we're going to get together and we're going to look at this every 3 months to make sure that our finances are where we want them to be as a family. So that's been one that we've employed and very successfully that I'm proud of.
I like that a
To be
lot.
proud of it.
Yeah.
It takes a
Yeah,
lot of
that's awesome.
it takes a lot of self-discipline to actually, you can put it on the calendar, but to make sure that you actually have it and you do it is another thing. And that is one part where if that's something that you struggle with, I will put myself in that camp. I'm like, we need to plan Vivian's party. This was something we were talking about 3 weeks ago, and we still have not done it. And if it helps you to have an actual human in the mix forcing that to happen, that is another way that you can use Faye. I'm laughing because as we're talking, I just got a text from my family advisor that said, hey, let's put time to talk about Viv's party on the calendar. If this year I can even come to your house and we can chat about it in person, because
That's
this
awesome.
is something we have said we're going to do for 2 weeks and we still haven't done it. And she's looking at the calendar and she's like, this is happening in 2 weeks. We have done nothing. So that's another, that's another tool if you need it, if you are someone like me and need that in your life.
Love it.
Love it. We got a great one for the chat too. I just want to quickly read. I know a couple who recommends Thursday evenings to check in about what each other needs and rest, recovery during the weekend. We spend so much time focused on the weekday, but weekends getting in what each person in the family needs to enjoy the weekend time is important too. So love that one. An easy weekly one on Thursdays just to do a quick check-in. That's great. So we have a little bit more time left. And the last thing I want to get to, or one of the last things, is bringing this back to, unfortunately, what is sometimes the source of a lot of this mental load stress, which is our children. But at the end of the day, that's what we're all in this for, is to raise more aware humans, right? And, how can we model better habits for our kids around managing our mental loads, around shared responsibilities, all these things that we're talking about. At the end of the day, it's important for us, but it's also important for us to be modeling these behaviors to the children that are near us all the time when these things are coming up, when burnout might be coming up, right? Like, curious some strategies that you guys have employed for trying to make sure that we're showcasing good behaviors in this way to our kids.
That is such a good question. So this is going to sound so I was just on a podcast. I was asked a very similar question. Okay, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to help you field some of the constant questions that your kids are going to ask you as they get older by doing this one thing. And this is free, and you can do it at any time, and you can do it with your whole family. Are you ready?
Like,
Okay,
ready to take some notes.
I know it's going to sound crazy, and I swear it is so amazing to do. You need to go on a little field trip around your house and do a home tour of where everything lives. And take your kids, and you're like, this is where the washing machine is. This is where the dish soap is. This is where you put the dirty towels. This is where the extra soap lives, for washing your hair. You go around and you show them where everything is. My kids were like, we have a broom. This is where it lives. I didn't know. I'm like, "Oh, we have used the broom every day for years."
My wife's going to hear this and want to do this with me, I think.
Husbands are included. It's the whole family. This is where our scissors live. They've lived here for 10 years. I know it sounds really crazy, but especially as the kids get older and they start pitching in for chores and keeping the house clean, that's a big one. Highly recommend. The other thing, and I learned this online, and I can't remember the name of the creator. If I can figure it out, I'll drop it in the comments. But she said, you always ask your kids before they leave a room, and we've started implementing this at our house. What do you see in this room that doesn't look right? So you stop and you notice. So that's her big thing. Stop and notice. So I started doing this with my kids a couple months ago. They're like making their beds on their own now. So before we leave a room, we stop and we notice what's not right so that they put the room back together. And that has been such a game changer for us because I'm not having to be the one to prompt them. And when you do that, they rely on your prompts. So
Right.
instead, stop before you leave, get in the habit, notice with your eyes, look around, what's not right in here. Big one. Do it. It's free.
I love that. I'm going to remember that for a long time. I think for us, it's having our child see us both do the shared responsibilities. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen my dad do a load of laundry, and my husband does a ton of laundry and is a much better folder than I am. And so I think having our child see us both doing all of the tasks makes tasks less gendered, makes tasks feel more approachable, and that like you're a part of this household. And our son is 2.5, and we've had him, there's a couple of things that he does, like he feeds the dog, and but to varying degrees of success. But he also, when he gets undressed, he has to put his clothes in the hamper. So he's starting to learn these behaviors and trying to employ them. And like, if he unwraps something, he knows that he immediately instinctively goes to throw it away now. And that is something that we've like been working on. But I love the seeing something when you leave a room. Yeah. I'm gonna be that. I'm gonna be using that.
I love that, especially with boys. We got so many boys in our household. It's a big one.
Yeah. Having my own child, it makes me realize how much my mom did for us. She just did everything and yeah, which was amazing. But I do think there's something beautiful in encouraging your child to actually participate in the work. And not only is it good for them long term, they just really like it. Like, it's fascinating to me when we give Vivian chores. She just her newest chore is she has to go out in the morning and like refill the bird bath with water. And she just takes it so seriously and loves it, and it gives her a sense of purpose. And sometimes we just want to move quickly and not, we're like, it's just easier if we do it for her or we tell her to do it, whatnot. And you're really not helping the long-term situation there. So it's a good reminder for myself to do it more often. But every time we do put something like that in place, there's an immediate reward for everyone.
Love that. Awesome. Well, ladies, I think this is a good time to wrap it up. This was incredible. I think this, even just for me listening here, I certainly could have not been the moderator, just been in the audience and gotten a ton out of this. So I sincerely appreciate all three of you for sharing all of your experiences and anecdotes and your strategies, and a little bit about all three of your businesses and how valuable that they can be for the parents in the group here that for managing their load. Although, I think it's just important to recognize that it's always going to be tough, right? Like it's always just going to be managing it, right? It's never going to be, you're never going to be completely on top of it. But I think with some of the strategies we talked about today, some of all of your businesses, I think it can make things a little bit easier. Hopefully a little bit of Auggie as well for some parent support. Shameless plug. But again, thank you ladies so much. And thanks to everyone who joined us today. And I hope we will see all of you on another Auggie event very soon and in the Auggie community.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
Everybody.
Take care.
Bye, everyone. Have a good rest of your
Bye.
day. Bye.
You too. Bye.